Hey guys, I'm Mustached Genie here, aka Mustached. I'm here to review the movie Hidden Strike. If you end up enjoying this full movie review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description and 1 head over to my petition to help out smaller YouTubers. Second, there to my Patreon and PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly. And fourth, to my Discord server, you can join, collab, and chill, and do a lot of cool stuff. And shilling will be reminded at the end of the review. With all that out of the way, let's get into Hidden Strike. So I had seen the trailer for this movie like twice, and I was like, oh, Jackie Chan's still in action movies. Wow, okay. So that was like an immediate like, yeah, I'm in. Like, yeah. Jackie Chan, one of the legends when it comes to action movies. A legendary icon, and with as many characters as we've seen, pass or become decrepit old people and be tired of their jobs, from the Indiana Jones to the recent examples of that happening. It is fantastic to see that Jackie Chan, after all this time, damn, he still got it. Fuck, that is a refreshing sense of like, oh wow, this guy is still clearly doing stunts, clearly doing his own stunts, clearly still in the action, and just giving it. Really surprising. And, John Cena, pretty fun guy, actor / previous wrestler, So, pretty interesting team up, and it's not even going to be the first or last movie I review with these two in it, but we'll get to that later on. Anyway, this particular movie starts off with some helicopters rolling in over, and we learn more about these oil wars that are going on over here. I don't know where this movie is taking place. I never learned that. It's just some desert area with like this small like outland area where like certain people are living, so I'm not too I didn't like get a distinction for where this takes place. Anyway, Jackie Chan's character is named Lau, who looks at a picture of his family, because he's a family man, but he's also a working man, on a job, in fact. And he's already doing a new mission, and we cut to Chris, or John Cena's character, and he has a younger brother who's already in some sort of deeper pocket scheme going on, and Chris is trying to relieve the tensions of this squad of people he's with, so he's giving some of them nicknames. He doesn't give one to one of them anyway, but we cut to a man named Owen arriving in a vehicle, and we learn through the means of this movie that the pipes and the water systems aren't working that well, or at all, generally speaking. And we hear from both sides that both are doing something very different in this place that is called the Highway of Death. Lau is trying to get people across it, while Chris is trying to grab some people for his brother's team, I suppose is the best way of putting this. So, the helicopters for this transit team, Lau's team, is moving up ahead, their helicopters are, and they get to this Highway of Death, where certain explosions start to go off, but things aren't looking too bad yet. And we see May is this younger woman, and is Lau's daughter, in fact, in this movie. But we see a sandstorm is forming, unfortunately, and it seems to be, according to the movie even earlier on, seems to be an oddity, almost an impossibility of a sandstorm forming wherever they are. So we see that the outside squad, Chris's squad, is moving in with this as their sort of get-in system. So they focus on 2 buses, and one with the X that we see actually get set up here earlier on in the movie, and this other bus as a sort of a distraction. So the team secure the 2 buses, and they are taken over. We see that Chris was a part of this system, and Lau is trying to make contact as he makes his way out of the storm and gets the helicopters to come back after they're out of the storm anyways. Unfortunately, 2 of their buses are already gone, and after getting a lift, they see that the sandstorm was indeed man-made. So their suspicions of it being, naturally formed was correct. So Lau heads further in to investigate. He finds some cars that were left behind, and he gets his squad to essentially continue on with their mission, or the ones that are still on near the buses anyway. So as he continues to give chase to this other vehicle, they begin to chase this group, Chris's group, not Chris himself, but his group. And with it, they manage to tackle one of these vehicles. But the vehicles in the process, the ones that are remaining, eventually shoot down one of the helicopters, not the one that Lou is on, but the one that was advancing further ahead. But we see that Chris and his gang, or Chris, as soon as they're done, tackles his own brother, wondering what they've gotten their, what level of nonsense he's gotten them into. So he wasn't even necessarily on board with how crazy this is already getting. With Owen, their team, the proper team leader of this whole ordeal. And Owen goes on about wanting to take down the entire oil company. And Henry... before I mention that. Chris is so upset that he leaves his own brother there to deal with whatever, to get the money and just get out or whatever as soon as possible. However, once he leaves and shortly after that, Owen wants to not leave anything up to chance, or however he puts it, and shoots Henry dead. So Chris's brother got killed shortly after he leaves, and he wanted to make sure to try to set this up as to make it look like the other group did it, according to him anyway. All the while, we see that Lou is continuing to make his way and eventually comes across Chris for the first time. So he makes contact, assuming that Chris is in the wrong, and begins to follow. They initially meet in the town, and they have their little confrontation here, but there's this little kid involved, so Chris is trying to persist that there's nothing going on, and to make sure that, nothing is advancing past a certain point. And Lou, I guess, sort of sees this too, and will only tag after Chris is gone. So they end up, Chris ends up going elsewhere, finds Owen dead already, and this is where Lou, now that he's away from said village, attacks Chris, or attempts to attack Chris, in, again, a fight scene that is choreographed and has some interesting, vintage Jackie Chan moves, with him using the objects around him already, and so on and so forth. And we have John Cena. He's the much stronger of the two, so he's, has a lot more of these tackling-based moves. However, during their debacle, at some point, these Frenchmen, the three of them, come in claiming to want money. And shortly after not getting anything, they leave and begin shooting the entire building up from the outside. So now the two of them, forced into this situation, are trying to get out, defending their positions and trying to live. And I suppose one of the reasons John Cena was chosen for this movie is because he has some Chinese in his belt, and he lets that out in this movie. And Jackie Chan gets the privilege of correcting some of the wordage there used. Anyway. So, while all that's going on, we cut to our main antagonist, Owen, who has grabbed this doctor and her son, and threatens him to essentially try to get this oil, which has to be decoded with a USB and with this password, I think is what they leave it to. So while that's going on, we learn from Lau's group they have entered the green zone, so their group is safe. Meanwhile, we cut to Chris having some chill moments with the kids, and having a good old grand time. And Lou, once again seeing this, joins in the little festivities for a bit. Outside, we cut to them, and Chris is like, oh, I want to be with that woman, and then Lau eventually, not too long into that, kind of cuts in and will be like, no, that's my daughter. And he's like, shit. So, they hear some movement during their convo of this, and they know that the squad is moving in to grab something or rather. So they begin their second attack, Chris and Lau do, teaming up once again, despite just being at odds with one another in that regard of the relationship status and all that stuff. And they have a little bit of communication issues, whether that being through signaling or just trying to make sure to cover each other, but they barely manage it out, with Chris almost getting shot with a rocket launcher in this tower that he got up in after some leveraging of highs and lows and taking advantage of the areas that they are in. And through the bag and seeing the bad guys move in more consistently and wanting the bag that badly, after a certain deal of time, figures out just how big, this this oil heist, because this is what, the movie's all about, this oil heist that's going down, as I provided at the beginning. How big this oil heist really is. And, you know, at first Chris thought, oh, this isn't going to be a big deal, but eventually, like, hearing just what exactly is being stolen and how much, more importantly, how much is being stolen, he's like, oh, fuck, this is going to be the biggest oil, you know, heist in history, essentially, is what they're going for here. So, surprise, surprise, Chris and Lou team up once more and get into another combat sequence. Very well achieved here, where we get to see a lot of both of their what they bring to the table. Jackie Chan's movesets of being creative and moving other objects to his advantage, and John Cena's brute strength once again coming into play a lot in this movie. So they get into this building where they deal with some guy, the one that he was struggling, Chris, earlier to give a name to. He gives him, like, Skullface is what one of the names he refers to, even though they continue to, like, differ his name even more so in the context of that. But that's what I'll just call him for now. So, Chris ends up seeing that the daughter, Lau's daughter, comes in with the truck, his truck specifically, while Lau continues to fight with this Skullface guy. So Chris is chasing Owen to make sure that his situation is dealing with, and Lau, after his intense fight with Skullface has ended, which, again, a lot of stunt work and a lot of fun with, like, these springboards that they use in this oil rig setup with the two of them. So after that, Lau is able to make his way and eventually picks up Chris and his own daughter, and they hit the knolls and collide with the other vehicles into this major crash that just completely almost wipes out all of the bad guys. It is, like, crazy big. Chris and Lau prep back up to chase Owen. He's like one of the very few or only ones remaining at this point. In fact, he is the only one remaining after that big explosion, at least in terms of the antagonist. In the setup where he sees the other two, like, they drive towards this cliff, and Lau and his daughter ended up, like, falling off of the cliff, and Owen's, like, in the vehicle, and is, like, the wiring that has them two on it is, like, underneath his own car. So he's, like, thinking, oh, if I just back up enough, I'll let them go. But I'm not sure exactly how this setup works, but, like, the way he did it made his own vehicle, like, back up first and then fall. So they had to, like, or Lau had to unhook his daughter from the belt leathering thing that he had attached. So it's a little unclear. I think it makes sense, though. I don't know. It's a little hard to tell. Anyway, we see that Chris was still on the truck while they were going over the cliff, so they're, like, freaking out that they may have lost him, but we see him climbing up the side of the cliff, so he's okay. And then we see the three of them just call out for help while they're, like, in this sort of incline in the cliff side of the where they were. And in almost vintage format, because I have not seen this in a while, they do some outtakes of either some of the action sequences as well as just general line outtakes that were in the movie. So you can tell that this was very much in line with a vintage, almost Jackie Chan movie. Those typically tend to have the outtakes at the end of his movies in particular. So yeah, really fun, just generally action-packed. And yeah, there's a little bit of fun here. I probably give it like a 6 or 7 out of 10. I was like, alright, that was alright, you know, pretty good, pretty solid-ish area in terms of a score. And that's my review of Hidden Strike. Not much else to say on that one. So if you ended up enjoying this review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description when you head over to my petition to help out smaller YouTubers. So go there to my Patreon and PayPal where they help support me and my channel. And fourth to my Discord server where you can join me, collab, and chill and all that cool stuff. And until next time everyone, bye bye.